So it's already recording, Simona. Did you start the recording? Okay, well, welcome everybody. We're early. Um, it's not quite 6 o'clock yet in the UK, but we've got people arriving for our very special event, Tell a Child in Gaza's Tale Live. And thank you very much for joining us from many different parts of the world. I've just seen somebody who probably doesn't know how much influence she's had on me, and that's Noreen Kaplan Spence, who's joining us from St Vincent. Hi, hi, Noreen. Great to see you. Many years ago, I went to a workshop that Noreen led about many things. But one of the things I learned a lot about was allowing students with many different ways of learning and needs and accommodating their needs through different creative tasks. I'm not putting that very eloquently, but you know what I mean, don't you, Doreen? I hope you do. But anyway, I often quote you when I'm doing running sessions.
David.
Okay, hang on a moment. I'm just going to mute myself. There's my wife's having to tell me something. Okay, thank you very much. Sorry about that pause. Okay, so Simona, you've got your candle lit. I'm going to light a candle as well. So welcome everybody. Welcome to Tell a Child in Gaza's Tale. Haneen Khaled Jadala and I started this project in the 1st of January. And in November, I started sharing recordings from the World Storytelling Cafe, Young International Storytellers, one recording every day of a child in Gaza telling a story, because lots of children came and told stories back in 2020, 2021, continuing right through till 2023 and even some, in 2023. And so I was mining the archives and finding stories and sharing them. And I shared 65 stories, one a day between the 10th of November and the 13th of January. But what was clear is it would be a lovely idea, Haneen and I decided, if on each day, starting on the 1st of January, we would invite people to listen to those 65 stories, choose a story that resonated, that meant something to you, and then retell that story. And many people have joined in, and it's a project that's still in its infancy. It's still growing. This is by no means a culmination. This is just a stage in the project where people have been sharing those stories, letting me know, and I've been sharing them on a YouTube playlist and on Facebook as well. We don't have any sense of the children's circumstances. These are some of the children who shared that story behind me. We don't know how you are, where you are at the moment. So this event goes out as a wish and a tribute to the children, and as Haneen will no doubt make clear, the message has just come through. She's going to be joining us a bit later. She will explain how the significance of this project, because actually, although the children in Gaza in no way will be able to hear the stories being told now, they will one day be able to listen to this recording, and they will know in this recording and all of the stories that we're sharing that they were remembered and listened to and thought about, and people were talking. And it's so important that people are talking about everybody in Palestine and Gaza and telling their stories and keeping that all alive, their culture, their choices. Not all of the stories they told were specifically Palestinian folk tales, but many of them are. Many of them are pieces of beautiful wisdom, but many of them are also stories that come from many different cultures and stories that are made up by children in Gaza, and sometimes historical stories, like Hannah told the story of Florence Nightingale, which was very meaningful to her in her quest to become a doctor. I'm going to start with the first story. Then we've got a wonderful lineup of people that have already contacted me to tell me and Simona which story they would like to tell from those 65 that were shared, and it's very exciting. I won't give away all of the names yet of who's going to be telling stories, but I am going to start with the first story. So, welcome again to everybody as you join us. And the first story I learned from Malak. And this is Malak. You can see in the photograph. Can you see? And Malak joined us from Gaza in 2021 on the 12th of January. And this is the story that Malak told on that day. There was a child and a father, and the father wanted to teach his child a lesson. The father was rich, and he wanted his child to know what it was like to be really poor, for the child to appreciate just how rich the child was. So the father took the child to a really poor village, and they spent the whole day in the village. And at the end of the day, the father was walking home with his child and said, "Well, what did you think?" "Oh, Dad, thank you so much for taking me to that village." "And what did you learn, child?" "Father, I learned so much. We have one dog. They have 4 dogs. We have a pool. They have a river. We buy our food. They grow their food. We have walls all around us to protect us, but they just live together, sharing everything. We watch television, but they talk to each other and play together. We have everything that the world can offer, and they have so much more. Oh, Dad, thank you for teaching me just how poor we are." That was the story that I learned from Malak. Now I'm just going to look and see who's with us. I can see that lots of wonderful people all over the world are with us, including I can see Lamia, who's joining us from Hebron in the West Bank. It would be impossible for people to be joining us from Gaza, but Lamia is here, and Lamia's students have been taking part in the project very actively, particularly a student called Jana. So Lamia, is Jana here with us yet? Oh yes, I can see. Hello, Jana. Jana's shared a few tales as part of this project, and some of them very recently. And I think, Jana, if we're very lucky, I think, Jana, you live in Hebron, don't you, Jana? Jana, would you like to turn on your microphone? And Jana is going to be our one Palestinian storyteller today. Hello, Jana.
Hello.
Hi. It's great that you're with us, Jana. And Jana, are you ready to tell us your story?
Yeah.
Okay, Jana, then I think you're going to tell us the story of the town mouse and the country mouse, which you learned together with Sue Piper. Is that right?
Yes.
Jana, please begin.
The story about the country mouse and the city mouse. One day in the countryside, there is lots of beautiful trees, and where is very, very quiet. And the country mouse lived in a big tree. He lived in a big tree. Right at bottom was a tiny hole where the country mouse lived under a big tree. And the country mouse said to the town, "Have some food, have some food." And he gives the town mouse a carrot, a piece of corn, and a glasses of water. And the town mouse eat food. He drank water and said, "Thank you, country mouse. That food is too simple for me, but thank you anyway." Now the town mouse was used to very fancy food like pizza and meat, sugar and jam, not used to eat a carrot. So the town mouse said, "Thank you." That food was very simple. In fact, it was too simple for me. That food was too simple. The town mouse went to bed, and when he put down his head, suddenly a noise woke him up. "What was that?" he said. "What's that noise?" "It's an owl. It's It is too simple, and now there is too many birds. Just the food is too simple, and there is too many birds making noise like he tired to go to sleep again. "I can't sleep," he said. "I can't sleep. It's too da- dark in the countryside." He said, "It's too dark. The town has lots of lights everywhere, and I don't like to countryside." He said to the country mouse, "Come with me to the town, come with me to the town, and and I will show you fancy food, and bright lights, and lots of shops, and lots of cars, and we will see a different life, my friends. So come to the town with me, and you will see a different life." The country mouse packed his bag and went with the town city. The town mouse lived in a big house. The country mouse ate fancy food. He ate bread, cookies, jam, and even Chinese food. The country mouse didn't like fancy food. "Meow," that cat chased the two mice. The country mouse didn't like the town. "It's too fancy, too dangerous, and too many cats." The country mouse went back to his house and ate simple food and loved his simple life. Thank you.
Jana, thank you so much. You told that story of the town mouse and the city mouse and the country mouse so brilliantly. and so clearly. And Jana, thank you for representing all of the children in Palestine tonight, because you're our one Palestinian guest who could make it from Palestine today, together with your teacher. So Jana, thank you so much. We're all clapping and appreciating your storytelling. And your teacher Lamia is here, also in Hebron. Lamia, would you like to say something? Okay, so I'm not sure if Lamia's able to speak right now, but another person who knows Jana is here as well, and that's Sue Piper. Sue, did you help Jana to learn that story?
Yeah, we did that story. Um, yeah, and we had some nice little pictures to go with it and things. Yeah, but Jana's great. She just loves stories and she loves retelling them, whether that's by video. Sometimes she makes videos, or sometimes she retells it in class, or she retells it in the session. And sometimes she makes little puppets to go with it. She's just so creative, and that was so lovely. Really, really lovely the way you told that, Shanna. And that word fancy, we had a few laughs with that word fancy in the session. So well done, Shanna. It's beautifully told. Well done.
Well done, Jana. Well done. It's great that you're here, Sue, and it's great that Lamia's here as well. I'm guessing, Lamia, you can hear us, but maybe you can't speak
She
right
says she,
now.
she says she couldn't unmute. There was a problem.
Okay, okay. Well, thank you for being here, Lamia. It's wonderful. If you can unmute later, that would be great. So, what we've got this evening is a real variety and range of stories. Oh, yeah, I'm seeing on the other, I saw for a moment, yeah, the picture. We're going to go to our first guest outside of Palestine and not in England. By the way, I should have said right at the beginning, co-hosting with this event with me tonight is Simona Stambazzi in Italy. Hi, Simona. It's great that you're with us to help to coordinate this evening. So we're going to go now to India, and Shilpa Story Rack is going to tell a story that she learned from Nada, also from Nada's from Gaza. And Shilpa, I know it's really late at night now in India, so thank you for staying up to tell us a story. And I should say right now that both Shilpa's story and Nada's story are there on the link that you can see in the chat, as well as a few stories told by Jana, and you'll actually be able to see Jana if you go to the link. There, Jana shared at least 3 stories with us. So Shilpa, welcome.
Hello, thank you, David. And Jana, I really loved the way you told the story. And yeah, very beautifully told. And for a moment, I saw the cutout of that mouse also. It was only for a flicker of a second I saw it. So I think even David, you noticed it. She had put yeah, that was very beautiful, very creative. Keep it up. So today I'm sharing the story I learned from Nada, and it's the magic carpet. Okay, so here I go. On a very hot day, Omar finds a magic carpet in his uncle's shop. Oh, what's this, uncle? It's moving. Well, Omar, it's a carpet. Suddenly, there's a loud noise there in the air. What's happening? What's happening? I am the magic carpet. Come on, hop on me, and I'll show you the world. So Omar hops on the carpet, and the carpet, it flies high and high up in the sky because it was a magic carpet. Well, they fly, and they land in a jungle. Oh, it's raining. It's raining. I'm getting wet. Let's go somewhere else. So from the jungle, they move to a desert. And when they land in the desert, Omar says, "Oh, it's very hot. It's very hot and dry. Oh." So after that, they fly and fly and fly to South Pole. And as you know, South Pole is covered with snow and ice. Oh, it's freezing. It's so cold here. It's so cold here. Well, so now the carpet, it again flies and takes Omar somewhere else. Where are we? Where are we? I can't see you. It's so foggy. I just can't see anything in the mountains. So from the mountains, the magic carpet takes Omar to an island in the sea. There, Omar sees the sea life. Oh, it's beautiful. Wow. And all of a sudden he hears boom, boom, dra, dra. What's wrong? What's wrong? Let's go home. Let's go home. And they fly back home. The carpet, it lands dum in the shop. Omar gets off the carpet and he thinks, wow, what a wonderful day I had. So that was the beautiful story, The Magic Carpet, which I learned from Nada. Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much, Shilpa. You retold Nada's story with the same energy and the same joy. And I wonder if Nada had actually made up that story. I'm not sure. Here's a photograph of Nada that I just managed to find
Yeah,
from the link. So there's Nada who told that story back
yeah.
in 2021. Thank you
Great.
so much.
Lovely.
Okay, I think we are
Thank you.
going to go. Well, I think I'm going to hand over to Simona, who's going to. I think we're going to go to Sue Piper, and then perhaps it's going to be John Rowe. John, can you write in the chat which story you're going to tell? But right now, I'm going to let Simona introduce Sue.
Yes, I'm very happy to introduce Sue Piper, a dear friend. Sue is from England, is joining us from England, and I'm really happy to introduce Sue because for the past few months, I've seen Sue fight for the rights of Gaza's people, and like nobody else. And Sue, I'm really happy to call you a friend. And Sue is going to tell us the story of Joha, the cat, and the meat that she learned from Nima.
Hi everyone, thank you Simona, thank you David for inviting me. It's really nice to see everyone. So I'm going to tell Joha and the cat from Nima from Gaza. So I absolutely love Joha stories, and this is one of my favorite, and I really enjoyed the way that Nima told it, so I hope I can do Nima justice. So one day Joha went out to the shop and he bought 3 kilos of thick juicy steak. He said, I can't wait to get home and eat this steak for my tea after work. And he rushed home and he handed it to his wife. And his wife said, I will cook that later for you, Joha. And when you come back from work, it will be ready for you. And she left it on the table. And after a few hours, she started to cook the meat. And she added some garlic and some salt and some pepper to the meat. It smelled delicious. And all the smells and the aromas from the meat wafted out of the window into the street. What What's that smell? The neighbours said. That's amazing. Who's cooking that delicious meat? It smells of garlic and salt and pepper and juicy steak. And they followed the smell to Ga2a's window, and there they could see Ga2a's wife cooking the meat. And they knocked on the window. Oh, please, please, can we have some? Please, please, can we have some meat? It smells amazing. And Ga2a's wife opened the window and she said, dear me, she said, what's all this commotion? Can we have some meat? Please, 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 can we have some meat? Just a tiny piece, a tiny, tiny piece. Oh, okay, she said, but just a tiny piece each, that's all. And they came in, the neighbours came in one by one, and they sat down and they cut themselves each a tiny piece of meat. Oh, this is amazing, they said. Thank you so much. It tastes so delicious. Said Ga2a's wife. What's happened? Where's all the meat? It's all gone. What will Ga2a say? And just at that time, Ga2a rushed in the house, looking forward to eating his meat. He looked at the empty plates. Where's my meat? He said. Where's my 3 kilos of thick, juicy steak? Everybody looked around the room. And then, all of a sudden, all the neighbours pointed at the cat. The cat ate the meat, the neighbours said. The cat ate the meat. And Ga2a thought, he said. And he picked up the cat and he put the cat on the scales. And the cat weighed exactly 3 kilos. He said, if the cat did that, then why is it not fat? If the cat did that, why is it not fat? If the cat did that, why is it not fat? Thank you.
Wonderful.
Wow. Thank you so much, Sue. That was just brilliant. Yeah, I love Ga2a tales too. So, Sue, you learned that from Nima, and the recording that Nima's recording came from was a recording where lots of children came from beach prep school, and it was all audio only, like Jana earlier. They weren't able to connect on video, so I haven't got a face to connect with Nima. Maybe some of you have met her, but that was just a wonderful oral audio telling from her, and you've just retold it so beautifully.
I told that to my class as well, and they really enjoyed telling that story.
It's a wonderful story. I think so many of us have told that story. It's fantastic. I'm just having a look to see who's in the room and wondering if Haneen is here yet. Oh, she is. So before we go to John, Haneen is here, and I'd like to introduce Haneen Khaled, who's our third host for the evening, and very important reason why we're all here today. Haneen and I had this idea for this project, Tell a Child in Ga2a's Tale, and we kicked it off, as I said, on the 1st of January. But another reason we're here today is this is a fundraiser, and Haneen is gathering funds to be reunited with your family who are in Rafah in Gaza. And if you haven't had a chance yet to look at the fundraiser, I'm just going to read out on Haneen's behalf what she wrote, so you have a kind of some context of Haneen's story. And then Haneen's going to say a couple of words, I think. And Haneen wrote, "My name's Haneen. I'm reaching out to you with a heavy heart and a plea for support. I have 13 family members, including my husband and my 2 8-year-old boys who are in Gaza right now. My story's one of resilience, sacrifice, and an unyielding desire to help my family in Gaza survive the war, get out to safety, and rebuild their lives. In 2022, I made a life-changing decision to pursue a master's degree in England, leaving behind my beloved family and 2 children in Gaza. My intention was to open doors of opportunities for them and to provide a chance for a brighter future. Despite facing numerous challenges and barriers, I persevered. And in the end, I achieved academic distinction, earning the department's award for exceptional progress. However, the joy of my academic success is overshadowed by the devastating reality my family faces back in Gaza. The current situation has left our homes and business destroyed, with my husband losing his livelihood as his company was levelled to the ground. My parents, siblings, and 2 8-year-old twin boys are now displaced in the south, grappling with horror and deprivation of basic necessities like food and water. My 2 8-year-old boys are being denied access to education, a fundamental right that every child deserves. Years of tireless dedication and hard work, especially from my father, went into establishing and sustaining a business in one of the most challenging places to start one, Gaza. The Wedding Centre, created in 2018, was a symbol of hope, love, and community. It provided employment to many young people and was cherished by families for their special occasions. Tragically, with a single click, it was reduced to ashes, leaving our hearts in perpetual ache. And then Haneen has made an update on Friday, just 3 days ago. Thank you to everyone who has generously donated. It's with deep sorrow that I announce the passing of my father on February the 12th, 2024. Tragically, he was unable to access the necessary medical care he required. Now, more than ever, I'm in desperate need of your support to achieve my fundraising goal. My family's safety is at risk, and I must evacuate them from Rafah, where they're facing significant risks. I cannot bear the thought of enduring further loss. So, since Haneen heard the news of her father's passing, she's been staying here in our home with me and Tammy, and returned to Birmingham after what was a really hard week. But it was our absolute pleasure and honour to be able to host Haneen, who's a dear friend of ours. And before we carry on with the evening, I know that Haneen would like to say a few words to you.
Hello everyone, and thank you very much for joining this wonderful storytelling event, which is always and will always be healing to our souls, regardless of whatever difficulties and despair and loss we feel. Normally, in normal circumstances, I will be joining these kinds of events to tell a story or to talk about the creativity, the innovation, and the commitment of my dear colleagues and learners in Gaza. Normally, I will be talking about very creative, very proud, and very resilient Palestinian children whom I have worked with for 9 years before I came to the UK, and whom we are honoring today by retelling their stories and keeping their tale alive. Today is a bit different for me. The learners are still in my hearts. My thoughts are still with my colleagues and all the families in Gaza, as we are a close community. So each family in Gaza is my family and each child is my child. But it's a bit different because I am grieving a very unexpected death of a wonderful father who has passed away last week And I received the news after David and Tammy drove all the way to Birmingham to be with me. It was so shocking and so sad that he's no longer with me in this world. And I must say that as a little kid, I was sitting next to him since I was 7 or 8 years old. And he's a writer, so he was dictating me what he was saying and writing, and I was writing down all his ideas and pieces of poetry and articles. He was very eloquent and very creative, and he was very sensitive in the way he looked at the world in a very challenging place like Gaza. Dad is behind me as a background because I need to feel his warmth and love as I always did. And because I know that Dad would be very glad knowing that I am surrounded by lots of wonderful colleagues and friends like yourselves in such hard circumstances. He was a main force behind me coming to the UK and a main reason behind me becoming a teacher. Becoming a teacher in all circumstances takes so much courage because you're responsible for the youth future. But in a place like Gaza, it takes double our hearts and more than a soul to help the children get out of their shells and get into the world and feel included when they have feelings like they're being denied. So whatever I say and whatever I will say, it won't be enough to show you that when all this smoke clears, you are going to be the ones who will remember the dead and people who are alive. And you are going to be the ones who the children will look at with so much love and so much hope that there is goodness in this world. Thank you very much for joining today. And thank you for retelling those children's story and keeping their tales alive. Thank you.
Thank you, Haneen. And I feel that this evening is also a kind of tribute to your father and a tribute to all of the children, of course, in Gaza. And I would also like to tell you about an article that Haneen and I published last week in a magazine called Humanizing Language Teaching about this project and about what it means that we're retelling these children's stories. So there'll be a link in the chat. So now, again, thank you, Haneen. There's a direct connection to our next storyteller. And I have to say, most of the people who are telling stories tonight have already contacted us and arranged the stories that they're telling. And if you've come ready to tell a story, retelling a story from a child in Gaza, and you haven't let me and Simona know, please write in the chat because we will see if we can fit it in as well. But we've got lots of stories. And John Rowe is going to tell us a story, and John Rowe is hugely significant in all of this because it was John Rowe who hosts, as many of you know, most of you know, the World Storytelling Cafe, who curates it and who came up with the idea of young international storytellers back in 2020. And right back in those early days, many, many children from Gaza were joining us. And among them was Farah. And Farah from Gaza told John and all of us the story that John's about to tell. So over to you, John.
Thank you very much, David. And my heart goes out to me. This story from Farah, and it's a catalogue story, and those of people who know me know I love my catalogue stories. And so this is from way back in time. And there was an old woman. She had a sheep, and every day she milked that sheep, and in the evening she gave the milk to her children and herself. But every evening, a fox came and stole the milk. Well, one night the old woman waited to see who the thief was. And there she was, big knife in her hand, a huge knife. And along came the fox, whack, off with the fox's tail. Oh, the fox said, "Old woman, please give me my tail back." And the old woman said, "First you go and get me the milk you stole. Replace it." So the fox went to the sheep, said, "Sheep, sheep, can you give me some milk? I'll give the milk to the old woman. The old woman will give me my tail back." And the sheep said, "Okay, but first go to that tree over there and get me the leaves from the tree." So she went to the tree, said, "Tree, tree, can I have some leaves to give to the sheep? The sheep will give me some milk. I'll give the milk to the old woman. The old woman will give me my tail back." And the tree said, "Yeah, but all the ground around here is full of sand and stones. I mean, this is a Middle Eastern story after all, and there wasn't a lot of soil. And could you go to the farmer and get him to put some soil around my roots so I can grow?" She went to the farmer and said, "Farmer, farmer, could you get some good soil and put it around the roots of the tree? And the tree will give me some leaves. I'll give the leaves to the sheep. The sheep will give me some milk. I give the milk to the old woman, and the old woman will give me my tail back." And the farmer said, "Yeah, but it's stony out there. Could you go to the cobbler and get me some shoes?" Went to the cobbler and said, "Cobbler, cobbler, could you give me some shoes to give to the farmer? The farmer will put some soil around the base of the tree. The tree will give me some leaves. I'll give the leaves to the sheep. The sheep will give me some milk. I'll give the milk to the old woman, and the old woman will give me my tail back." Now the cobbler was a kind man, took pity on the fox. He took an old pair of shoes and gave them to the fox to give to the farmer. Fox gave the shoes to the farmer. The farmer went out and put fine soil around the base of the tree. The tree gave the fox some leaves. The fox took the leaves to the sheep. The sheep gave the fox some milk. The fox took the milk back to the old woman. The old woman handed the fox his tail and said, "You see, stealing wasn't so easy after all, was it?" And that was a tale from Farah. Beautiful. And you can, with the link, you can see her telling the tale. She dresses up, she puts on beautiful props and everything.
And there is the moment that she's dressed as the old woman in the story. Fox's tale, learned from Farah. And I love catalogue tales as well, and yeah, it's just beautifully done. Thank you so much, John.
No, I must apologize that I have to leave in a minute, but it's been a wonderful evening.
Oh, thank you, John. I'm not sure. There's a couple of people that I've got written down. Oh, here he is, just
Yes,
literally
there's
arriving.
Nicholas.
It's Mr. Nicholas Pavlovsky, who said he was going to have come in when he could, and he's just arrived at the moment that I was about to introduce you. So, Nicholas is in the USA, and am I right, Nicholas, that you're going to tell Tala's story?
Yes, you were just introducing me.
I was just introducing you, thinking, is he in the room?
Oh, hello, everybody. Yes, I'd happily tell a tale.
Nicholas, please go ahead and tell Tala's story. If you're ready to.
Yes, I'm ready. People had been, this is Tala's story, which I learned on the Tell a Child's Tale in Gaza tale that I'm so grateful to be part of. People had been coming to the wise man and they were telling him their problems. Can you hear me? Oh, so the people were telling him their problems. And they came every day and they told him the same problems all the time. One day, the wise man told the people a joke, and the people laughed. The people laughed and laughed. It was a wonderful joke. After about 2 minutes, he told the joke again. And this time, not everybody laughed. Some people smiled politely. And then, after about 2 minutes, he told the joke again, the same joke. And now nobody smiled and nobody laughed at all. And the wise man said, "You can't laugh at the same joke over and over again. So why are you complaining about the same problems?" Thank you, Jana, for sharing this story with us.
Thank you, Nicholas. It's great that you were able to join us. And thank you for jumping in at the deep end. Yes. So much wisdom in the stories we learned from these children. And I'm going to ask, and I'm not sure if she's here in the room, is Lightness in the room? Lightness Isojik. Are you here? Okay, I'm not sure if Lightness, I saw her come in earlier, but I'm not sure if she...
Yeah, I don't think, David, I think she came in a few times, but she must be having connection problems.
If you see her come in again, Simona, then let me know, because
Absolutely.
Lightness is in Tanzania, and Lightness and her daughter, who's 11 years old, Rosemary, have both participated in another parallel project, which is the poem "If I Must Die" by Refat Alaria, who was killed in December, and we've been sharing the poem in diverse languages and voices. And Isojik and her daughter shared the story both in English and in Irakwa, which is a local minority language in Tanzania. And they both wanted to come in and tell a couple of stories learned from the children in Gaza. So hopefully they'll be able to come back in and do that in a bit. But I think instead we'll go to Phil McBain, who's in Scotland. And Phil, are you going to tell us Mohammed's story?
I am, yes.
Fantastic.
I am, indeed I am. I'm going to tell you in Doric, so you're in for an experience. So don't worry, you'll get there. Doric is the language of, the third language of Scotland, and us in the northeast of Scotland are awful proud of it. So this is Mohammed's story. I was drawn to this story by his wonderful smile, his arms outstretched as he went from one foot to the other, and he told the story. And it starts in a village a long, long, long time ago. And fit a grand village this is to bide. Abdi is just fair teen wi' it. And they're fair teen wi' each other, and they're fair teen wi' all the fun that they have. The young loons and the young quines play together awful happily, and they have a right grand time. And then a day, it didn't rain. Nobody thought anything about it, but it didn't rain the next day, or the next day, or the next week, or the next month, or the next month after that, and they had a drought. And boy, did they ken about it then, because the grass had gone from green to yellow to brown to stewer. The crops were dying, the cattle was dying, even the trees were dying, and they were all surviving on very, very little water. And then this young loon he minded for their grandfathers told them that there was a river that flowed under the village. And he ran through the village telling everybody about this. And they all went, oh, aye, that's right. And they went and got spades and shovels and picks, and they all started digging. And they dug and they dug. And a few days later, they were still digging. And you ken what it's like with folk. They get bored, they get fed up, and they started going home. And after a few more days, there was just one person still digging. And that was that young loon that minded that the grandfathers had said there was a river under the village. And fit he was wanting was the water. Well, he dug and he prayed and he dug and he prayed, and they found the water. And he ran through the village telling everybody there was water, and everybody went and got pots and pans and anything that could have water, and they quenched their thirst, and they gave the water to their animals, and they tried to get their crops back, and they even watered the trees. And that village thrives now, fair thriving place it is, and everybody's back happy living together. And very thankful for that young loon that didn't give up. And they all have learned to work together as a family. Young Muhammad didn't give up.
Thank you, Phil.
You're very
Absolutely
welcome.
brilliant. And you talked about Muhammad rocking from one foot to the next, and there he is balancing as he tells the story. And it's a most fabulous telling, isn't it, Phil? His, and
Yeah,
you've
it
done
is
him
indeed.
justice. And he was rehearsing with our friend Manuela Kelly Calcini for a storytelling competition in his school, and it's such an amazing performance. I think John Rowe was one of the judges at the competition, and the absolutely stunning performance at this rehearsal. Anyway, our next storyteller is somebody who was a little bit hesitant because she's relatively new to storytelling. But I have to tell you that when Mechthild Lier, who's here from Germany, shared her story, well, I have to say, it's not the only time I got tears in my eyes when I heard you retelling stories, but I was so moved by your retelling of Malachi's story, Mechthild. And I love this story so much. It's a story that I've been telling too. I really understand why you chose to tell Malachi's story. So over to you, Mechthild in Germany.
Thanks for having me, and thanks for your kind words. Yes, I learned that story from Malachi, and I really loved this story from the beginning. She told it very beautifully. And also thanks to David and Hanin for this wonderful project. I think it's so important to have all those stories. And well, okay, welcome and ahlan wa sahlan. This is the story of a father and his son, a very wise Arabic story. One day, a father called his son and told him, I want you to be happy for the rest of your life. And to achieve that, you must never compromise on 3 things. Always have the best food, always sleep in the best bed, and always live in the best houses. Well, immediately the son objected. No, father, that's impossible. We are poor. It's not possible to have the best food, the best bed, the best houses. I can't do that. Believe me, son, you can. Just listen. Okay, the food. Only eat when you're very, very hungry. And then, when you're so hungry, the food you can eat will be the best, the most delicious food. Secondly, work very, very hard. And then when you're very tired, only then go to bed. And your bed will be the most comfortable, the best bed you can ever dream of. And thirdly, be kind to people. And when you only treat people with kindness, they will let you into their hearts. And their hearts are the best, the most beautiful houses you can ever live in. The son thanked his father, and from that day on, he lived happily ever after. Thanks. Shukran.
Mathilde, thank you so much. Absolutely beautiful, beautifully retold. Malaki is another one of the students who came in audio only, and sometimes it's beautiful just to listen to the voice and to imagine the storyteller. Thank you so much. When I became a storyteller, which is quite a few years ago, I joined the Society for Storytelling in the UK. I went to a gathering, like kind of an informal conference. It was kind of a halfway between a conference and a festival. And one of the storytellers I met at that first gathering I ever went to, when I was thinking, am I really a storyteller, was a very wise and accomplished storyteller who I admire greatly. So it's a great delight that she's with us here today, a friend, and this is Rona Barber.
Oh, David, what an introduction. How sweet, how kind. Oh, wow. Well, I have had the great fortune to know a great many of you here on this expedition, shall we call it. I can't tell you what a wonderful thing it is that I think you're doing. And I add to my prayer list every day for Hanning to be reunited with her family. And we've got to do our bit to make that happen. And I've been watching these kids telling these stories, and I have been loving it because they are so passionate. I wish that half the storytellers in the country would tell the way these kids do, because they just throw themselves right into it. And hearing Noah tell the Snow Queen brought back so many memories for me, because my father told me that story when I was a child. It is a very long tale, as most of you will know. It can go on for hours. It's in 7 parts, and Noah condensed it very well. I'm just hoping that I can do half as good a job as she did. It was absolutely wonderful. So the Snow Queen, I mean, you only have to hear the words, the Snow Queen, and it could strike terror in your heart, because you know how vicious and wicked this creature is. But the two little characters in this story, Gerda and Kai, had no idea. They didn't even know of her existence. But before I tell you how they found out, I'll tell you what happened to Kai. The hobgoblin, a horrible creature. I mean, they say he was the devil himself, and he invented a magic mirror that could make everything that looked good distorted into something quite evil. And it could make anything that was evil look even worse. And he was delighted with his creation, very proud of himself. And he was showing it to all the other goblins, who had to pretend to revere everything that he did, because they were terrified of him. He was so wicked and so nasty. He wouldn't think twice about just chopping somebody's head off because he didn't like the way they looked at him. So he had created this incredible mirror, and he showed them how it worked. And if you looked in it and saw something pretty ugly, or if you looked in it, it made you look ugly, and horrible and quite scary. And he was laughing every time somebody looked in this mirror. But he wasn't happy with just letting them see it. He wanted to show off, and he got all his fellow goblins to help him carry it. It was a heavy mirror. It was quite big, and he wanted it carried all the way up to the heavens so that he could see what the angels looked like in this mirror and the Lord himself. Well, as you can quite imagine, as he got closer to heaven, the mirror got heavier and heavier, and eventually it was dropped. And when it landed on earth, it had shattered into millions of pieces. It went all over the world. And these tiny shards of this mirror, if they got into somebody's eye, or even worse, into their heart, it was just horrific. Everything that person saw became horrible. Everything that person felt became cold as ice and evil. Well, sadly, I'm going to tell you one of the people who got those shards. The two children in this story, Kai and Greta, lived so close together that their windows, if they reached out, they could touch each other's hands. And outside the windows, there were window boxes where their family wanted to grow vegetables, but they also grew some flowers, just one flower, the rose. But everybody loved the rose, especially Greta. And they would talk and they would tell each other stories across this little funnel in their houses in the wintertime. In the summertime, they would play outdoors. But it was wintertime, and occasionally Kai would be invited down to Gerta's grandmother's to hear some stories. And that day she told them the story of the snow bees. Kai and Gerda had never heard of snow bees. Snow bees? You mean like honeybees, except they're snow bees? Grandma said, yeah, that's right. They're snow bees. And do those bees have a queen? Said Kai. Yes, they do, said Grandmother. She is the Snow Queen, but she's not a very nice character. In fact, if you see her, stay clear. Well, that stuck in Gerta and Kai's head. All they could think about now was the Snow Queen. They were just pleased that they had never seen her before. They hoped they would never see her again. But they did. Because be careful what you wish for. Kai wished if he could just see her just once. The real Snow Queen. And she did. She appeared one night in the middle of a fierce storm. And Kai was so curious. He couldn't resist getting closer. And he was on his sled. He knew he should have been home at least an hour ago. But he couldn't help but follow the Snow Queen. And he got just a little bit too close because she saw him. And she scooped him up and tied him to her sled and sped off into the night. And Kai was gone, completely disappeared. Well, Gerda was beside herself, so of course were his family, all of the families, all of their friends. What had happened to Kai? Nobody had any idea because nobody else had seen the Snow Queen that night. Gerda prayed for him. She prayed every day. She asked her grandmother to tell her again what could have happened to him. Tell me a story. Tell me something. Tell me anything that I might be able to find Kai. She couldn't. She said, all I can tell you is that he's gone, but he's not dead. How do you know, grandmother? How do you know? She says, I know. I know. So Gerda decided to look for him. She had got some brand new red shoes, and Kai hadn't seen these shoes. He thought, if I take the shoes to the river, and he's in the river, and I throw those shoes in, he'll come up to see them. He'll come to have a look at my new shoes. The shoes came back to her. Kai didn't. She thought of everywhere she could possibly look. She threw the shoes into the field, hoping that if he was there, hidden, hurt, anything, that he would suddenly appear. But he didn't. There was no Kai. I did tell you that this story is in 7 parts. But that amazing little Noah managed to fit all of those 7 parts into one, and she condensed it very nicely because she managed to tell us that when she found out what it was that would destroy the Ice Queen, the Snow Queen, she knew what she had to do. And when the Snow Queen appeared again, just a month later, Gerda knew what she needed to do. She had boiling water, and when she got close enough, she threw that water over the Snow Queen, and the Snow Queen melted in the water. But suddenly, Gerda thought, "Wow, I still don't know where Kai is." But fortunately, Kai was in the sled where the Snow Queen had him and 3 other little boys that nobody knew had been found or been taken by the Snow Queen. So I hope you've heard enough of this story that you'll want to know more. I hope I've done a tiny little bit of justice to Noah's story of this telling of it. And if you love this story as much as I do, go and read all 7 parts of it. It will take a while, but it's worth it. Thank you, Noah.
Thank you, Rona. And there she is, Noor, telling the Snow Queen. Thank you, Rona. Thank you so much. Wonderful. Simona?
Yes, now we're flying all the way to Mexico because Rebecca Robles is going to sing us a song that she learned from Hala. Rebecca, are you with us?
Yes,
Oh, yes.
here I am. Hello, everyone. The following story I learned from Hala. I chose this story because she told it so beautifully. She sang it with such energy, and I really liked it. It gave us a sense of change, and that it's good. There's always a good thing about it. And let me tell you, this is the story of the Four Seasons tree, and I would like you to join me as we go on it. So, it was late spring when I met a tree, and the tree sang to me. I feel so happy, just like a king. My arms have birds, the whole day sing. Could you join me? Let's do it together. I am so happy, just like a king. My arms have birds, the whole day sing. As time went by, then summer came, and I met the tree again, and he sang to me. Oh my God, I'm sorry. I am sorry. I am wearing a nice suit, and all my arms are heavy with fruit. Could we do it together? I am wearing a nice suit, and all my arms are heavy with fruit. Then autumn came, and my friend the tree and I met again, and he sang to me. I have put on yellow, brown, and red, but now I feel a little bit sad. I have put on yellow, brown, and red, but now I feel a little bit sad. Finally, winter came, and we met one more time, and so he sang to me. I'm naked, I'm cold, I'm waiting for spring to see the sunshine and hear the birds sing. Are you ready for the last part? I'm naked and cold, I'm waiting for spring to see the sunshine and hear the birds sing. And this is the story of the Four Seasons tree, who sang a song to me.
Wow. That's so beautiful, Rebecca. And here is Halla. This is a photograph, a still from her singing the song of the Four Seasons tree. All of these stories, we've learned them from children in Gaza, or sometimes we've heard them from children in Gaza, and it's reminded us of a story that we already know. Oh, but what wonderful teachers these children in Palestine are. Just as everyone has said, the energy and the joy with which they've shared their stories. We don't know their circumstances right now. We don't know how you are. But one day, all being well, you'll watch this recording and you'll know that there were people around the world who were with you. Simona.
We're going back to Scotland because Cara Silversmith is going to tell us a story that she learned from Ragad.
Yeah, I'm so grateful to Ragad for this story. I love it so much. And yeah, as you say, David, I really hope that one day the children will be able to join and tell stories again and have their own voices heard. And in the meantime, it's wonderful that we can tell their stories. And this is one that I love and I will always love. Crow was a very happy bird. Crow had beautiful dark black feathers and she gleamed in the sunshine as she hopped through the forest. She was happy and she was beautiful. Or at least she thought she was, until she went down to the lake one day and there, at the side of the water, there was a swan. A beautiful, graceful, all-white swan with feathers that, well, made Crow wonder if she was really that beautiful after all. And Crow said to Swan, "Oh, Swan, you are so beautiful. You must be the most beautiful, the most happy bird in the world." And Swan bowed her head gracefully and said, "Why, Crow, thank you. I am indeed beautiful, and I am happy. And I thought I was the most beautiful bird in the world until I saw the parrot. And the parrot had the most beautiful, glistening, gleaming feathers, and I believe that he is the most beautiful bird in all the world." A crow was so amazed to hear this, a more beautiful bird than the swan. She decided she had to go and find the parrot. Now the parrot lived in the zoo. So the crow left the forest and went to the edge of town where there was the zoo. And there was the parrot, and the parrot had the most glistening, amazing feathers that the crow had ever seen. "Wow," said Crow, "you really are the most beautiful bird in the world. I can't believe how gorgeous your feathers are." And the parrot preened and said, "Why, thank you, but there is one who is even more beautiful than me, and I think you should go and have a look at him, because surely no one is more beautiful than the peacock." And so Crow flew into the middle of the zoo, past all the cages, past all the people, until there, in the very center of the zoo, surrounded by crowds who were wowed and awed, there was the peacock and the peacock's train, and everybody gasped in wonder at the beauty, and Crow just stared until eventually she said, "Peacock, you are the most beautiful bird in all the world. You must be so, so happy. You're so lucky to be so beautiful and vibrant." And Peacock looked at Crow and shook his head and said, "Oh, Crow, what I would give to be a beautiful, plain black bird like you. A bird that has the freedom of the forest, that can go wherever you want. I am stuck inside the zoo, and people come and stare at me. Don't you know that freedom is the most beautiful thing of all?"
Thank you, Cara, for sharing that story
Thank you.
with such a lovely message.
There she is, Raghad, telling that story with such enthusiasm, and you've really carried that energy forward, Cara. Thank you so much.
Next, we're going to go to Greece, to another good friend, Evi Caridi, who's going to share a story that she learned from Lana, the great elephant. Evi, are you here with us?
Yes, Simone, I'm here. Thank you so much. What I loved about the story was Lana's enthusiasm and how much she liked sharing that story. And that's why I picked Lana's story. So the story is about this great elephant. A lonely elephant was wandering the jungle looking for friends. Suddenly, he saw something moving in the tree. What is that? He thought. It was a monkey. Will you be my friend, monkey? The elephant asked. Of course, you don't speak monkish, the monkey replied. You are too big and heavy, and you cannot swing on trees as I do. So I cannot be your friend. The elephant left, feeling sad. The monkey is right, he thought. The next day, the elephant kept wandering in the jungle, looking for friends left and right. When he saw something jumping out of a hole from the ground, it was a small rabbit. Will you be my friend, rabbit? The elephant asked. You know, you are too big and heavy to fit inside my rabbit hole and play with me. How can you be my friend? The elephant thought and left, feeling sad. The rabbit is right. I am big and heavy. The next day, the elephant kept wandering the jungle, looking for friends. When he saw something green jumping from the lake, it was a frog, and the elephant quickly asked him, "Hello, frog, will you be my friend?" Ribbit, ribbit, you are too big and heavy, and cannot jump like me. Ribbit, ribbit. I am sorry, but we cannot be friends. Ribbit, ribbit. The elephant was so sad, and he kept walking, thinking about how big and heavy he was. Yes, I am big and heavy. And then he saw something moving behind the grass. What was it? It was a fox. The elephant thought of asking the fox, "Will you be happy to have a friend like me, fox?" "Sorry, but you are too big and heavy, and you cannot hide like I do. I cannot be your friend." Elephant, feeling sad, thought, "The fox is right. I am big and heavy." The next day, the elephant woke up, thinking of all the animals and how right they were about him being big and heavy, when he suddenly heard some noise. "Help! Help! Help!" He turned and saw animals in the forest running here and there in fear. The monkey was running here and there in fear. The rabbit was running here and there in fear. The frog was running here and there in fear. The elephant didn't know what was happening. He saw the fox running here and there in fear, shouting, "Help! Help!" He tried to hide behind him. "What happened, fox?" "Help! There is a lion, and he's trying to kill all of us. All the animals are running away to hide." The elephant wanted to help. He went to the lion. "Please, lion, do not eat up all these poor animals." "Please, mind your own business." "Well, lion, you leave me no choice. This is going to hurt." And with that said, the elephant kicked the lion so hard that the lion was scared and he ran away. All the animals saw how the brave elephant saved their lives, and they all agreed in unison. "Great elephant, you are just the right size to be our best friend." And that's the end of the story of the great elephant.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you, Evie. And here is Lana. And like you say, she tells it with such joy, the joy of sharing stories. Absolutely brilliant. Well, Lamia is in the room, and Lamia messaged me because she couldn't switch on her audio. Lamia is in Hebron in the West Bank, so she's written a few words for me to read out to you. Lamia is a close friend of Sue, Piper, and Lamia is also the teacher of Jana, who told a story really early on. If you missed that, this is being recorded and this is going to be shared on YouTube, so you will be able to catch the bits you missed. And you children all around the world, wherever you are, especially you children in Palestine, you'll be able to enjoy this too. So this is what Lamia says. "As a teacher, I believe in the power of stories, and have learned a lot of wonderful stories from David, Palestinian children, and amazing storytellers. Palestinian children have gone through tough times that include violence, displacement, and discrimination. It's important to listen to their stories and help amplify their voices. By doing so, we can gain a deeper understanding of their struggles and show solidarity with their cause. Retelling their stories can help raise awareness about their experiences, struggles, and resilience. We must remember that these children are innocent humans and have hopes and dreams. By listening and telling their stories, we can build empathy and foster understanding. Ultimately, we can work towards a more just and equitable world for all. Thank you, Lamia. Thank you for being here with us tonight and representing the teachers and the people of Palestine.
We're now going to Mariela, Mariela Mundaka. Mariela, am I right in saying that you're from Argentina? I don't want to say something wrong.
Yeah,
Perfect.
that's right.
So joining us from Argentina, Mariela, tell us the story of the apple tree that you learned from Shiraz.
From Shiraz, exactly. And I loved her energy when telling this story. So once there was an apple tree that lived very happily because there was a little boy that came to visit him every single day. The boy would climb up its branches, it would eat its delicious apples, and it would also take naps by the shade of the tree. So the tree was very happy to have him. But one day, the boy stopped coming to visit the tree. And the tree said, "Come back to play with me. I miss you." The boy came back one day and said, "Listen, tree, I'm sorry. I'm not a little boy anymore. I don't like playing with you so much. Now I prefer toys. In fact, I need money to buy more toys." The tree thought, "Well, I have no money to give you, but I can give you my apples, and you can sell them to buy more toys." And so the boy took all the apples and sold them to buy toys. As time passed by, the tree started to feel lonely again because the child would not visit him anymore. So he started crying again, "Come back to play with me. I miss you." The boy came back one day, but he was a young man. He said, "Tree, listen, I'm not a boy anymore. Now I'm a grown man and I have my own family to support. In fact, I need to make a house for them." "Well, I can't help you making a house, but you can take my branches," said the tree, "and you can build a house for your family." So the man went chop, 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 and he cut down all the branches from the tree and made a house for his family. The tree was happy to help. But soon after that, he started to feel lonely again because the man would not come back to visit him. So after some time, he started to cry again. "Come back to play with me. I miss you." One day, an old man came to visit the tree. "Look, tree, I'm not a young man anymore. Now I'm old, and I would like to rest and relax, see the world, travel places. I would like to have a boat to travel and sail around the world." "Well," said the tree, "I can't give you a boat, but you can take my trunk and make a boat for you." So, chop, 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 chop. The man cut down the trunk of the tree and built a beautiful boat, and off he sailed to see the world. As the years passed, The tree started to feel lonely again, and he would cry, "Come back to play with me, I miss you." Until one day, a very old man came to visit him. And he said, "Listen, tree, I'm weak and I'm very old now. I need a place to rest." "Well," said the tree, "I have no apples left to feed you. I have no branches left. I have no trunk. The only thing I have left are my roots. My roots, in fact, can be very good for you to lean on and rest." And so did the man. He took a nap on the roots of the tree, and the tree smiled, and you could see a tear drop because he was crying of joy. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mariela.
I do have a photograph of
Perfect.
Shiraz telling the story of the tree. Thank you for telling that all the way from Argentina for us, Mariela. And I think Jana, who told the story at the beginning, has also retold that story as well. So thank you to Jana as well. Thank you, Mariela.
Thank you, David and Simona.
I think, David, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think we're going to Cyprus next.
Are you ready, Despina?
Despina is going.
Despina's managed to get away from her class, which is fantastic news. Despina's shared more stories than anyone else as part of this project so far, and that's an admirable feat, Despina. Or maybe you and I have shared about the same number. And Despina's going to tell a story that I love telling as well, but you tell it so beautifully. So, Despina.
So this is a story I've learned from Zaina. She lives in Gaza, Palestine. And it's called The Faithful Little Cloud. Kan Yamakan Fiadim al-Zaman. Once upon a time, there was a little flower. It wilted in a small garden. Its head was drooping. A little cloud was floating above the garden and saw the little flower. "Oh, little flower, what's wrong? Why are you so sad?" "I am dying. I need water. I have none." The little cloud floated on, thinking about that little flower in that small garden. The little cloud, as it kept floating on, passed over a huge mountain, and over the mountain it found big, heavy rain clouds. "Oh, heavy clouds, oh, big clouds, will you help?" "Of course," said the big clouds. "I need your help. There is a small flower wilting in a little garden, and it needs water." "Of course we will help," said the big, heavy rain clouds, "but we need the wind to push us." The little faithful cloud moved on and found the wind. "Oh, strong wind, will you help? Will you push the heavy rain clouds towards the garden, to the little flower who needs water?" "Of course," said the wind. I will blow, and I will push the clouds towards the little garden where the little small flower is wilting and needs help. So the strong wind blew as hard as it could, and it blew, and the big, heavy rain clouds started moving towards the garden. And they moved towards the garden, and as they moved, they found the big, huge mountain, and they crashed onto the mountain. And as they crashed onto the mountain, all the rain fell heavily, mighty, onto the mountain, and it formed streams down the mountain sides. But unfortunately, the garden was too far off, and the streams did not reach the little garden where the little flower was wilting. What can I do? Said the little faithful cloud. A little bird was flying and saw the little faithful cloud. Oh, little cloud, what's wrong? Why are you so sad? And the little cloud told the little bird the story of the little flower in the small garden who needed help. The little bird asked the little faithful cloud exactly where the garden was. The little bird flew to the streams near the mountain and flew down as hard as it could, beating its wings as hard as it could, went down to the streams and scooped in its beak some drops of water, and flew back to the garden where the small flower was. Its head was hanging, and dropped some drops of water, and the water soaked the little flower, and the little flower was, that is refreshing. And the little bird flew back again, beating its wings as hard as it could, all the way back to the mountain streams, and scooped some more water in its beak, and back to the garden again, and dropped some more water onto the flower and the flowers around the garden, around the flower. And the little flower started raising its head up, and it looked more healthy this time. And the bird didn't stop. It went back, all the way back to the mountain streams, and scooped up some more water, and went back to the garden again, and back again to the mountain streams, and never gave up, and went back to the garden again and dropped some more water. And now the little flower, was happy and healthy. And it wasn't alone. All the flowers around started feeling healthy and happy again. And the little flower was grateful to the little cloud, grateful to the wind, grateful to the big heavy rain clouds for their help, grateful to the little bird. We can do so much when we help each other and stand together. Remember, Palestine.
Despina, that is so beautiful. The little flower was grateful. But we are being, if we can, even the little things that we do, it sometimes feels so hopeless, but we can be like that little bird, sharing the stories and passing on the stories of the children in Gaza and Palestine is hugely significant. As Lamia testified in what she said, and as what Hanine shared as well. We're here to support and all of the children. And remember, this is also a fundraiser. It's being recorded. It's going to be shared on YouTube. So please share the recording and encourage more people to come and donate as well to save Hanin's family. I'm going to be doing another event on Thursday evening, hosted by Rona Barber, who told the Snow Queen earlier. And I'm going to be telling stories I've learned from teachers and children in Palestine. And I will also be inviting again people to donate to Hanin's fundraiser. So if you want to hear more stories from Palestine, do come on Thursday. I'm saying that while I remember, and I'm sure Rona will write in the chat what the link is for Thursday. And I also want to show you a photograph of Zaina, who told that story. And Zaina didn't just tell the story of the faithful cloud, she actually created that story.
Next, we're going to go very close to Cyprus, to another Despina. So Despina, are you? Hi, Despina. Thank you for coming. And Despina is going to share the story of the fool and the donkey that she learned from Mesk.
Hello, sorry for my lateness. It's good to be here after all. I loved this story the moment I heard it, and oh, the girl was such a wonderful, a brilliant teller. It's could have been one of Nasreddin's stories, but no, the wise fool. So I will tell you I will tell you this story I heard and then add a little twist to it. So once there was a man, and he was kind of simple-minded, not the sharpest tool in the box you'd call him. This man woke up one day and decided that he really needed a donkey. So it was off to the market to buy one. He went there and he looked around at all the nice donkeys that were for sale, and he spotted that one donkey, and that one, it just clicked, their eyes locked. And he said, that is the donkey for me. So he went there and he didn't haggle very much. He just paid what he was asked for and took the donkey and was off to return to his house when, unbeknownst to him, all this time he was being watched by two rather cunning boys. And one boy elbowed his friend and he said, look at that man. He's very silly. He's very simple. Surely we could trick him. We could trick him out of his donkey. So they whispered to each other and they devised a plan. And as the man was walking towards his house, one of them tiptoed behind him, took the rope that the simple man had put around his new donkey's neck, took it out of the donkey's head and put it around his own neck. The other boy, his accomplice, took the donkey away very, very silently, and the boy started walking behind the man. So, our guy, he just didn't realize what was happening. He just kept walking until he reached his house. And when he was near his house and he was ready to take his donkey and put it in the stable, he turned around and he said, "You're not a donkey. I bought a donkey. You're not a donkey. What are you doing here?" And the boy, well, you see, I was a donkey earlier. I'm not a donkey now. What do you mean you were a donkey? It's just that yesterday I was rude to my mother, and my mother told me that if I spoke like that to her again, I would be turned into a donkey. And this is how you found me being sold in the market. Now, that made absolutely perfect sense to our guy's mind. So he said, "Oh, well, you shouldn't have talked to your mother like that. But I needed a donkey. I did not need the boy. I have no use for you. Off you go." And he took the rope and let the boy go. Now that boy returned to his friend, and were they merry. They had tricked that simple man out of his donkey, and they would put that donkey for sale, and they would gain good money from it. So the poor simple man went to sleep, and when he woke up the next day, he realized that he still needed the donkey. So it was off to the market again. And when he reached that place, he looked to the right and he looked to the left, and there he spotted that same donkey he had seen the previous day. So he went right to it, put his arms on his hips, and he said, "You silly boy, you were rude to your mother again. What did I tell you? Ah, you boys, you never learn." So he got himself another donkey, just to be sure that it would not be turned into a boy this time. And all this while, the two boys, they were just looking at the silly man, and they were roaring with laughter, holding their bellies on the floor. But little did they know that someone else was also watching. You see, simple people, naive people, good-hearted people, they always have a guardian angel. And other people may think they can trick them, but they do not realize what kind of consequences their acts might have. Because that guy was very well protected. He did go back to his house, put his new donkey in the stable, and was happy ever after. And he did not realize, not any of the others did, that the next morning in the market, there were two new donkeys for sale no one had ever seen before. Thank you.
That really was a new twist at the end. Oh, thank you very much. Thank you very. Would you like to see a picture of Mesk telling that story? Yeah, there's
Yes,
Mesk
please.
telling the story of the fool and the donkey. Well done, fantastic. If you haven't already donated, I'm talking to the people in the room and the people watching the recording, please consider making a donation. If you've already donated, you could always donate a little bit more. Share the donation link with your friends, with your families, with everybody. And back to Simona. Thank you so much, Despina.
Well, Despina, I loved the twist at the end, and I really love the stories that have been shared and are shared widely through the project. And this speaks, I think, all this collection of stories speaks volumes about the values and the depth, the messages that the people from and the kids from Gaza want to send to the world. So deep stories, but also funny stories, stories full of life and laughter. And I think it's my turn to tell you a story. And I'm going to share a funny story with you again. A story that I didn't learn during the project, but that I was inspired to retell after listening to Noor and Lama telling the story. And they did a wonderful tandem storytelling at the World Storytelling Cafe. And this is the story of the emperor's new clothes, a very famous story that you may know. Once upon a time, in a land far and far away, there lived an emperor who loved clothes. This emperor didn't care about all the other important things that emperors usually do, like banqueting or throwing parties or hunting. No, he didn't care about them. He just cared about his clothes. And he had clothes for all occasions. So, no wonder that when two people came to the palace saying that they were some of the best tailors in the world, he was very interested in learning what they had to say. And he was even more interested when the two tailors said that the clothes that they wanted to make for him were not ordinary clothes, they were magical clothes. Magical? Said the king. What kind of magic? Well, said the first tailor, these clothes are magical because only people who are clever can see them. Wow, thought the king. This is very interesting because if these clothes can be seen only by clever people, I will be finally able to tell which of my advisors are clever and which ones are a little bit stupid. All right, make me these clothes, he said to the tailors. So the two tailors set up their workshop in a room of the palace. And before we continue with the story, I've got to tell you a secret. These two tailors were not tailors at all. They didn't even know how to make clothes, but they were tricksters and they wanted to trick the emperor. So they set up their, well, the things that they used to make clothes, but nothing was in the room really because even their equipment was invisible. And they started working, or actually pretending to work. And some days passed, and some days passed, and the king, the emperor, he wanted to, well, see his clothes. He was growing restless. So he said, well, I won't go. I'll send my prime minister. He is the most clever person I know. He'll surely be able to see the clothes. Prime Minister, go and check on my clothes. So the prime minister went to the room and you can imagine his surprise when he entered the room and he saw that clothes. The two tailors were working. Oh, hello, Prime Minister. Hello. Thank you for coming. But, well, Prime Minister was a little bit worried. Oh, I just wanted to check on your work. I see that everything's fine. Goodbye. Oh, no, Prime Minister. Stay. Don't you want to touch the cloth? Okay. And the Prime Minister touched. Oh, that's perfect. As light as air. Oh, yes, that's perfect, said the tailors. Bye, Prime Minister. And the Prime Minister walked away. Oh, no, I can't tell the Emperor that I can't see the clothes. Otherwise, well, I'll have to go away. And well, the Emperor was very happy to hear the news that his clothes were coming along just fine. But days passed and days passed and days passed, and the emperor was growing restless. He sent advisor after advisor after advisor. He started from the ones he thought were clever, and then he went a little bit down and down and down to the ones that he thought were a little bit stupid, but all of them came back with the same news. The clothes are wonderful. You will love them, Your Majesty. Well, emperor thought, well, if all of my advisors, even the ones that I consider a little bit stupid, can see the clothes, surely I will be able to see them. There's no need to worry. Well, worry he should, because on the day that the clothes were ready, he entered the room and couldn't see them. Oh no! Oh no, I can't see the clothes. What does it mean? Does it mean that I'm stupid? Oh, nobody must ever find out. So he wore the clothes. Oh, they're so beautiful as light as air. Oh, I love the colors. I love the fabric. But well, everybody was full of compliments for him. Oh, Your Majesty, you look great. Oh, Your Majesty, you're wonderful. And then he said, I'll go and parade my clothes to all the population. And he started walking, his head held high. And he was wearing only his underpants. But he didn't know that. He walked and walked and walked, looking around. Oh, and the people, well, they saw the emperor going around only in his underwear, but they couldn't say that he was doing that because they thought, well, if people know that I can't see the clothes, they won't take me seriously anymore. The school teacher thought, well, if people know that I can't see the clothes, nobody will want to send me their children again to study with me. And the banker said, if people know that I can't see the clothes, nobody will give me their money. And well, the builder said, if people know that I can't see the clothes, well, nobody will want me to build their houses anymore. And so everybody just clapped and cheered. But then a child stepped forward. He pointed at the emperor and said, but the emperor is naked. The emperor is wearing only his underpants. And he started laughing and laughing and laughing. And the crowd, well, they couldn't bear to just stay silent anymore. And they started laughing and laughing and laughing. And the emperor held his head high. And he kept walking, trying to be regal, while in reality he was blushing. Oh, no, no, no. What did I do? And he walked back to his palace. And that day he learned a very important lesson. Never say that you understand something when you don't. And that's the story of the emperor's new clothes.
Simona, that was fantastic. Thank you very much. And here, of course, we have a photograph of the two sisters, Noor and Lama, telling the emperor's new clothes. Fantastic. What a delight. What a joy. What a sharing of wonderful stories. What brilliant stories we've learned from the children from Gaza. There's only one more story left to tell in this beautiful festival. And it's a story which has so much in it, so much depth, so much meaning. And it's a story that was actually told by a student who Haneen was teaching, a student called Dima. I don't know, Haneen, whether you would like to say something briefly about Dima before the story is shared by Jackie.
Okay, so I have taught Dima when she was in grade 9, and she used to be very shy and just hiding in her shell. And then she decided to go for that project and experience telling a story. Dima is a clever, fantastic girl, and I believe she's now 16. So she would be delighted hearing her story at some point in the future, being retold by the wonderful Jackie. Thank you very much, Jackie, for retelling Dima's story.
And thank you, Hanine, for being with us this evening, because I know this isn't an easy thing for you, but just to be here and witnessing this sharing of stories. Because when we're in the throes of the story, it's easy for us to forget the circumstances that these children are having to endure. And storytelling does that, doesn't it? It takes us out of that world, however painful it might be. But it's there, and we have to remember it as well and acknowledge the suffering. But thank you, Hanine. Thank you, everybody, for joining us this evening, for sharing your stories so generously. A big thank you to the people who've come and listened, and all of you who are listening to the recording as well. This is a real tribute to the children of Palestine, and nearly all of the children that we've told stories, that we've learned stories from, are in Gaza. And we know what's happening. So thank you, all of you. Thank you for coming, and enjoy the last story of the evening. And at the end of the story, I'll share a photograph of Dima. But right now it's over to Scotland, to the wonderful Jackie Ross.
Thank you, David and Simona and Hanine, for organising such a lovely evening. And thank you to Dima for this wonderful story that I'm going to try to share as beautifully as she did. There was once a herd of elephant. They lived in the foothills of the Himalayas, and they were led by a magnificent white elephant. He was kind and good-hearted. His mother was old and blind, and so every day the white elephant would go out to search for beautiful, tasty fruits and leaves, luscious things to send back to his mother that she might enjoy. Unfortunately, the elephant messengers that took the food back to his mother often ate it before they returned. And so at the end of the day, when the white elephant went and asked his mother if she had enjoyed the feast, she would say, "What feast?" After some time, he became upset at this treachery, and he decided to move with his mother higher up into the hills, into a deep part of the forest where they lived in a cave. And each day he would once again go out and find luscious fruits and juicy leaves for her to eat. One day, while they were eating, he heard someone crying for help. "Help! Help! I'm lost! I don't know how to get out of the forest." Well, the white elephant at once was going to help this man. And his mother said, "Ah, my son, have you not learned about treachery after your experience? Have you not realized that we cannot trust people? We couldn't trust our elephants. How can we trust people?" But the white elephant said, "He is lost, mother. I must help." And so he went and found the man and guided him out through the forest so that he could see his home, Benares, in the distance. And the man went back home. Now, when he reached Benares, he heard that the king's favourite elephant had died, and the king was searching for a replacement. The man thought, I know just the elephant, and I have left a trail. I could take the king's mahout and some soldiers back, and we could capture the white elephant, and this would be good for me. So he went to the king and told his tale, and the king sent the mahout and the soldiers back with the man. Now, as they were coming through the forest, the white elephant could sense that humans were approaching. And out of the corner of his eye, he could see the man, and he realized that the man had indeed been treacherous. But he didn't want to put up a fight, for he was afraid that he might injure someone. And so he went calmly and peacefully back to Benares. And when he arrived, he was greeted with great ceremony and given a magnificent stall lined with tapestries and the tables were covered with food and drink of all sorts. But the elephant refused to eat or drink anything. The elephant would not eat. And after some time, the mahout became quite anxious, and he went to the king and said, "The elephant is not eating, your majesty. What shall we do?" Well, the king came to see the elephant himself, and he said, "Is this food not to your taste? Shall I find other things for you to eat?" "No, no, your majesty. The problem is not with the food. The problem is that my mother is alone up in the cave. My mother is alone up in the cave. She is unable to feed herself, for she is blind. I cannot eat if my mother is unable to eat." And when the king heard this, he said, "You must return at once to your mother. I cannot have you here if she is alone and unable to feed herself." And so the white elephant returned to the forest and to the cave, and his mother, you will understand, was very pleased to see him. But she said, "My son, did I not warn you of the treachery of people?" "You did, mother, but I prefer to remember the kindness of the king and to always be hopeful that others will follow his example." And it seemed to me that the lesson of this story is one that Dima was very keen to pass on to us, as so many of the children in Gaza have been with their wonderful stories. And thank you very much for listening.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, Jackie. And thank you for being able to carry on with the story. Yeah, that's a sign of a real storyteller. Fantastic. What a fantastic story that is. And here is Dima with her white elephant background telling the story back in 2021. There are so many more stories that we haven't had time to share. And if you're listening and to live or to the recording and you would like to participate, this project is by no means over. It's an ongoing project. If anybody would like to tell a story, then just get in contact and you can choose any of the stories. It's fine to tell a story that's already been told. And there are still some stories that haven't been retold yet. So just let me know. Or if you've retold a story this evening, but we haven't yet got a recording of you individually on the playlist, then do make that recording, because this is all about raising awareness, humanizing, celebrating these wonderful diversity of stories that have been given to us. Thank you to all of the storytellers. I'm just going to run through the stories we've heard very briefly. There have been so many. I started off by telling Malak's story, a trip to a village, and the town mouse and the country mouse was told by Lamia's student Jana, who managed to come in from Hebron in the West Bank, which is absolutely fantastic. Thank you, Jana. Do catch Jana's other stories in the list. Shilpa Story Rat came in late at night for her in India to tell Nada's story, The Magic Carpet. And Nima's story, Joha the Cat and the Meat, was shared by Sue Piper. Nicholas Pavlovsky in America told us The Wise Man, as told by Tala. And Phil McBain, who told us Never Give Up, which you learned from Mohammed. And Mechthild Lear, who told us The Father and Son, How to Live the Best Life, which you learned from Maliki. And Rona Barber, you told us the Snow Queen. From Noor, Rebecca Robles, you sang the song that Halla sang, the Four Seasons Tree Song. And Cara Silversmith in Scotland. Rebecca was in Mexico. Cara Silversmith in Scotland, you told the most beautiful bird, which you learned from Raghead. Despina Vardas from Cyprus told Zaina's story, the little faithful cloud. And Despina Ariou from Greece told Mesk's story, the fool and the donkey. And Evi Karidi, also from Greece, told the great elephant, learnt from Lana. And Mariella told the apple tree, which you learnt from Sheraz. Simona told the emperor's new clothes, which you learned from Noor and Lama. And Jackie told the white elephant, which you learned from Dima. Wow, what a rich representation of you beautiful children in Gaza and Palestine. Thank you so much. And as always, we wish for peace. Thank you, Simona, for joining, co-hosting, and thank you so much to Haneen for being with us. And may your family soon be safe.